Hello, everyone, and welcome to Global Wellness for All podcast. My name is Laleh Hancock, and I have the great pleasure of being your host every single week, bringing in conversations, tools, resources to bringing more wellness and well-being in all aspects of our lives, whether it's relationships, it's finances, business, our bodies and mental health, whether it's having more communion with our magical earth or bringing more awareness and consciousness in everything that we're choosing. So thank you so much for being here. Everyone, welcome to Global Wellness for All podcasts. My name is Laleh Hancock, and some of you guys are watching us on Facebook right now. So if you need to, you can go to globalwellnessforall.com/podcast and be able to listen to this podcast again, or go into iTunes or Spotify or Google or whatever other means that you guys use. Today, I actually have a very special guest with me. It's Dr. Jo. Hello, Dr. Jo. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on the program. Thank you.
Well, I am so excited because each time you and I talk, I get even more enthusiastic about your journey of what brought you to where you are today and all the ways that you are working with clients in different parts of the world and allowing them to really get to see the uniqueness of them. And so we're dedicating this show on that, creating that space for the uniqueness of people. So Dr. Jo, can you just assist us with people who are watching, whether they're watching live now or in the future, just a little brief overview about you and kind of like how you got started in all this?
Sure. One thing I love to work with clients on is finding their passion. When I was 12 years old, I discovered this insatiable curiosity about people and the need and desire to help them. And I also was fascinated with the family dynamics, and I kind of wanted to figure out my own family and that dysfunction. So I was just curious about the human psyche. And as soon as I found out about psychology, I was like, that is my destination. And my goal to become a psychologist never wavered. So I considered myself very fortunate. And I went right through school and graduate school, got my doctorate, and proceeded to specialize in trauma and saw people from all over, from different countries. I did help one client, a woman from Eritrea, get her visa so that she could stay away from an abusive husband. So many cool experiences. And I'm just so grateful. And I transitioned into being a holistic coach. I work exclusively with women. And my mission is to help them celebrate their unique identity and to find balance, boldly use their voice, and proudly take up space.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you and I have a lot in common is that drive from even as a little kid. Back then I would have said, I want to help people, because that's all I knew. I wanted help people to know they could be happy. Happiness was such an important thing for me growing up. And it also was, for me, the route to assist was medicine. I wanted to be a pediatrician. I went to school for it. And then there was a moment that occurred in my life where, I realized I really was looking for something different, not just the kind of doctor, that says, okay, here's a prescription, come back and see me tomorrow if you have a problem. And it took me on a different journey. And I know for you, you also had a lot of moments where, what you as a child knew was possible. And you said, okay, this is the route. But then you realize, no, there's this whole other world of transformation and empowerment. And, it's funny because for today we had called it Celebrating Your Uniqueness for the show. And it really is that most of us look at our situations at home, whether it was with our families or in the situation you just described, someone with their mate, where it didn't work out. And it's so easy for us to go into wrongness and into, I did something I need to be, punished for, the blame, or go into total judgment and wrongness, instead of, these are all moments of, the minute you're even discovering this, wow, you are being the leader who's choosing something different.
Yeah, I strongly believe in getting rid of the words right, wrong, good, bad. In fact, I always tell my clients thoughts and feelings are not good or bad, they just are, because we cannot help what we think or feel. And it's very important. I practice non-judgment with everything. And I also work a lot with shame, because shame and guilt are different. Guilt is a feeling of, this doesn't go with my values, so I probably won't repeat this behavior. Shame, on the other hand, is a feeling of, I am a bad person. One of the things that I think fundamentally drove my work is a feeling at heart that all people are good. And I strongly believe that still. And not a lot of people agree with me on that, but that's just who I am. And so originally I wanted to work with people in prison. And I have feelings about the prison system. We won't go there. But I wanted to be Jodie Foster, like Silence of the Lambs. And I did visit some prisons, and I decided, I want to be able to reach more people. But I do believe that everybody deserves equal care. We are all human.
Yeah.
Nobody is better or worse. We're all the same. And I think that's what we're talking about with global wellness. And I think that when we take away judgment, which we are so good at in our society, then we have so much further to go. And personal judgment keeps us stuck. I think that we're so good at categorizing things, good, bad, right or wrong, and that keeps us stuck personally, and that keeps us stuck as a culture in so many ways. So yes, I agree with you.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting because, if you look at babies and you look at young children, even in animal, the wildlife, okay, we're not born into judgment. We're not born into separation. We're not born into, you're good, I'm bad, you're bad, I'm good. It's like these are qualities that we learn,
Yes.
unfortunately, as we get older, from our families, our neighborhood, our society.
Yep.
But like, I was looking at Instagram, I love animals in the wild. And there's one particular one that does a lot with fostering when animals, their moms or whatever, right, they were killed, or for whatever reason, they bring the babies and they foster them. And one thing I found was interesting is there was a monkey, there was a cheetah, and there was another animal, and I can't remember what the other one was, but in the wild, they don't play together. They have their tribe, and their tribe would say, don't go there, because you're going to be eaten or whatever. And this video showed these three horsing around, like jumping on each other, playing, and it really was how we innately are.
Yeah.
And, from your message, when you said you believe everybody, has some kindness to them, right? I think we all do. However, some of us, we push it away so far that we can't go blindsided that everyone's going to choose it.
Right. And I think it's a matter of, well, there's transgenerational trauma, and then you have a biological disposition, for some kind of psychological disorder. And then another trauma occurs and that ticks that off. And then you've got, a real issue combined with environmental factors. It sets someone up for a pattern of destruction. That does not mean that the person is bad or evil. It means that circumstances from transgenerational trauma, ancient trauma, all of that, combined with a biological predisposition, combined with environmental factors and trauma, led to an unfortunate path, right? And, unfortunately, then our solution is to put somebody in a prison system which then, repeats the trauma and it has no room for rehabilitation. So that's, in my opinion, one of the unfortunate things. Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well, I
saying that
have to
everybody, oh, go ahead.
yeah. Well, I think on that note right there, right? The whole idea of this talk for us today was
Yeah,
celebrating our uniqueness, right? And
yes,
this is the thing. Like you went into the prison system and you've done some work with them.
yeah.
Personally, for me, I've worked with multiple organizations that have, and I am part of this organization called Access Consciousness. And one of the things is, one of the tools is the access bars. And so we have gone into the jail system doing this particular body of
Yes,
work, and it's made such a difference, like such a
yes.
difference.
Yeah, what is it? Fleet Mall has a training through the Prison Dharma Network, and I did that as well. Oh, I forget what it's called, this particular Prison Mindfulness Institute, and I did their training program, and it's beautiful. I haven't, because of COVID, we can't volunteer and go into the prisons, but I plan on doing that too. And you're absolutely right. And I trained in, it's called something behind bars yoga. And so there's a lot of really cool yoga programs too. So I'm not saying that there's not outreach and stuff in the prisons. And that's a beautiful thing that continues to develop. So yeah, you're right. Mhm.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying, actually. What I'm saying is, you know, we each learn different things. And at
Yeah,
some point, we have the choice. Do we change it?
yeah,
Do we continue with our old patterns?
yeah.
And all of these tools and techniques and all of it, whether it's the bars or some of these other things that you mentioned, people
Mhm.
are given a choice for something different. And that's when they have to choose it. The prison
You're
system,
right.
for me personally, I work with not-for-profit organizations that have done even
Mhm.
like education, bringing people and doing a transition program into the communities with them and
Yeah.
stuff. That there's a whole other mindset there of what's convenient, and what's
Mhm.
easy. And sometimes people fall into that pattern.
Yes,
So
for
I'm
sure.
curious, as people are celebrating their uniqueness and you're opening the doors for them to even know
Mhm.
that they can celebrate, because uniqueness is something like it it seems like the most easiest thing on the planet to know
Right.
you're unique and different, but yet applying it, receiving it, and becoming it is a whole
Mhm.
other story. So
Mhm.
what are some tools that you use? What are ways that when different individuals find themselves coming to you, that you get to create and work with them?
Yeah, I like to talk about the constant capital S self I talk about, and then the lowercase s self. So the part of us that is non-changing is like our spirit, our soul, the core self that is constantly going to be with us. That's yeah, basically our soul and our spirit. And then there's the lowercase s self, which is comprised of our ego, our personality, our beliefs, the ones that were taught to us, the ones we currently have, all of the things that actually are changeable. Um, and so, what I like to do is have my clients sit back in a lawn chair in their mind, have a sip of tea or coffee, whatever they're having, and then we do like a third person exercise. I'm out sitting like this going. Um, so let's look at, whatever situation we're talking about. Let's look at, let's say, well, I'll just use myself. Okay, so I'm looking at Joe, and I'm noticing that I always use this example. Her family's over, and I'm noticing that Joe is trying really hard to have everybody laugh, and because she's doing that, she's not having very much fun. She's always trying to control things. Oh yeah, that goes way back. And I wonder what would happen if she just kind of sat back and relaxed. Oh, they're still having a good time. She doesn't need to control everything. Oh my gosh, she's having a good time. You know what I mean? Like, so you look at patterns and you can do this. And somehow when you're in a third person, you can make better observations. You're more objective. And it's a really powerful exercise. Mhm.
Well, I think being a control freak and wanting everyone to get along and, have a good
Oh,
time.
you know
I know
that well.
nothing about this. I know nothing about
Oh my gosh.
it. No, but I'm learning more and more. And like, you said it from a third perspective. Like, for me, I would say, okay, like the infinite you, right? The
Mm-hmm.
true infinite you,
Yep.
what would it choose?
Mm-hmm.
And who are you being? Because so often our patterns are the things that we say our go-to are things
Yeah.
that we learn and plagiarize from family or
Right.
friends or society or teachers or loved ones, right? So like when we're really looking at something, it's so easy to want to make it wrong instead of, okay,
Yes.
like you said, stop and relax, because
Mhm.
that's something we don't even learn,
No, we don't.
not in school.
Oh, and
I
I
know.
teach mindfulness and I'm sorry.
Yeah, go
Well,
ahead, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say another thing I really am passionate about is teaching women how to love their bodies and get rid of body shame. This is another technique that I have learned to use for myself. I am in recovery from anorexia. I first had that when I was 12 and I didn't even know what it was. So, one technique that I've used that's really helpful for that in my recovery is I've externalized the eating disorder. So,
Mm,
because when you have anorexia, it's here and it's like it's part of you, it's internalized. So, you basically, because it talks all day long. So I'm getting these voices all day long. What am I going to eat next? How many calories is this? Okay, what did I weigh this morning? All day long. So instead of having it here, I externalized it. I named it. I gave it a shape and a form so that I could then talk back to it. And as I was getting healthier, I had my husband play the eating disorder so that after I had a piece of cake, I'd be like, oh my gosh, okay, play Ed. And he'd be like, you didn't deserve that cake. You're going to gain 5 pounds. I'd be like, I am not going to. And I totally deserve that. And then I can get angry with him. It was so fun. And he played really good. So doing kind of these, real life externalizing practices. And if you got a partner that can play with this, it's great because then you can have fun with it. And that really, really helped things. And now I say that instead of being in here, my eating disorder is a fragmented memory there. Still talks to
mm,
me, but I have way different perspective.
mm. Yeah. And I want to actually focus on the word that you said there. Have fun with it. Because that's the other
Yes.
thing. We learned as kids, everything was playful,
Yeah.
You could
Mhm.
you could play with anything. You could make
Exactly.
drums out of
Yeah.
nothing, you know?
Fantasy.
Yeah, but at some point, we made it that
Mhm.
things had to be more serious and more
Yes.
relevant and more significant. And in reality, that's not when you can change something. When you are being stiff, how can you move your body, right? It's the same thing with your
Exactly.
life.
Oh, there's this woman. I took a Sufi dance series, and this woman, as she's teaching us these flowing dances, she said, you know, in this culture, you guys have it all wrong. You want to have these flat, hard abs. She said, the belly is where we digest, not just food, but everything, life material. You need to have space. You need to have room to digest. I'm like, yes, she said, allow space in your belly. I'm like, yes, I am letting my belly hang out. It was so beautiful. I tell every woman that because, we have problems with our bellies, right? So I think that was just the most beautiful message. And it's true. How can you digest? How can you, not only food, but just information, the world, prana, life, if you have a small, tight belly, you know?
Well, on that one, I would say that, because I do a lot of things with bodies and we each have individual
Of
bodies,
course.
right?
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
works for you works for me. It might be a little
Totally.
bit different, but
Yes.
but that's the key. The key there is the humor,
Yeah.
keeping it
Right.
light, add
Mhm.
more space to it,
Yeah.
and ask questions. It's interesting because I did a Facebook Live a couple years ago, when I was in Portugal. And one thing that was really interesting is there's moments I have a flat stomach and there's moments I don't. And I travel a lot, and depending on the country and where I would be, like
Yeah.
literally my body shape changes
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if I didn't make this a wrongness, it really didn't judge it. Like I was like,
Exactly.
body, I adore you. What information are you sharing with me? And I
Oh, I love
realized
that.
that I actually store a lot of power in that area. And like you said,
Exactly. That's our power chakra.
well, yes, from that sense. And also, like, that's one of the ways that I was also utilizing my body to help heal others,
Yeah.
including the earth. We're constantly
Beautiful.
healing the earth because our bodies are part of the earth. And
Mhm.
so, one thing I realized is like, if I didn't judge it, there's this beauty in communion, right? And it still
Mhm.
is. It shape changes all the time depending on where I am. I'm laughing because every time I'm in the US, I have a much pudgier belly,
Yeah.
and in certain countries, and it's like the mindset here as well. And
Yeah.
so I really started to learn, these tools. And one of them from Dr. Dane Hare of Access Consciousness is, who does it
Mhm.
belong to? And
Yeah.
so, and one of those is the earth. And what if we would be willing to give back
Ooh.
everything? Like, what if we didn't have to hold on to it in our bodies? But, like, the earth is a lot of times asking. And so we might perceive a pain or an intensity
Yeah.
or something, but just like one, two, three, and you just give it back
Instead of
to the earth. One,
clinging.
two, three. Yeah,
I like
you
that.
allow dissipating and releasing to actually occur, you
Mhm.
know? Um, but humor, one of the things I love about laughing all my life, I love to laugh.
Me too.
It massages your
It
organs.
does. Yeah.
So, how about, when those moments are tough or those moments are great, whatever they
Yeah.
are, like pop a couple of videos in your phone that
Exactly.
just bring you
Yeah.
so much laughter and belly laugh, and make
Totally.
it happen.
Yes.
Or,
And I love laughing at myself. I'm gullible. I make mistakes. And I learned from my mom, if you can laugh at yourself, that is a skill, and everybody loves it. And the other thing is, you put fun in dysfunctional, right? I mean, there's so many things to laugh at when because if you don't laugh, sometimes you just are going to lose it and cry all the time. I mean, and not to make light of family dynamics, because they're often very, very uh, heartbreaking, but there's always a little comedy in there, you know?
well, I wish I knew some of these tools many years ago, because I think
We
many
can
of
all
us have
use
had
them.
many family gatherings, that
Yes.
went a little more crazy and stressful than they had to. But now,
Mhm.
it's kind of funny, brings up another tool that I learned is allowance. If you allow them to be
Yes.
them, but you have to honor you to allow you to be you. Like, don't give you up and don't force them to be what you think they should
Which
be.
exactly. And don't think you can change them. I've spent my whole life trying to get my dad sober. He's still drinking. I still have a little girl in me that still thinks she can get him sober. And I have to just talk to her gently and say, okay, Joe, it's not going to happen. But she's still there. And so I don't, criticize her. I don't say, go away. You have to be gentle with the parts of you, because we still have all the parts of the baby part, the toddler part, all of that, and we also, I believe, have our older parts selves in us. And so she's still there. She's just a little girl. She wants her daddy to be sober. And so I know up here that I can't make that happen. Oh, but there's the longing is there. Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, that's an interesting one, because the more we would like someone to change, the more we give them like the flame and the fire not to change and want to go into defense mode. So it's
Yeah, and
it's
it's
just
just
really an
radical
interesting one.
acceptance. Yeah, radical acceptance of where they're at and loving them for who they are, where with what they've got. Mhm.
Yeah, and allowing them to choose what's going to work for them and their
That's
body.
right.
I have twins that are 26, and
Oh,
I've been in
wow.
Florida visiting one of them, and it's been beautiful actually. It's been a couple of
Good.
weeks of us being in the same space, which is incredible. But I
Nice.
realized, like, just the small things. Like, I grew up where you separate your clothes, like your whites go to the whites and the
Yeah.
darks go with the darks, and the towels go over here or whatever. And over the years, like with her, she started that way because of course I was programming her that way. And then she did it her way. And so when she went to college, everything, whites, blacks, purples, they're all together. But her mindset is nothing's going to happen. Like they're all going to be in this oneness together. And do you know, not one load she's ever done for herself does the white get any other color. So it really is like
it's more efficient.
Well, it's more efficient for her because it works for her.
Right.
If I would do that, I'd be thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? What are my whites are going to be at the end of the day, right?
And they probably would.
They would, because that's what the energy I'm giving it,
Yeah.
So we really have to find what works for us.
You're exactly right.
Be that space of total allowance for others and let them choose for themselves.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Well, Jo, we're coming to the end of this, and I would love for people to know. Now, you're in Minnesota, is that correct?
I am, yep. And I work virtually, so I see people all over the place, which I love. My email is jo@tulasoul. That's my business name. So TULASOUL. Tula means balance in Sanskrit, and it means poem in the Philippines. I write poetry too. And it means wind in Finnish. And I'm Finnish, so I love that word. I didn't know that when I picked I just knew it meant balance in Sanskrit. Let's see. And so again, it's jo@tulasoul.com. Or no, that's my email. And then my website is www.tulasoul.com.
And it's all going to be in the show notes, so people will have it easily for them there. Tell me, do you have anything special coming up? I know like you do so much with yoga and stuff. Are you doing all the yoga online as well?
Yeah, I do. I teach private yoga, as well as I teach meditation. I teach mindfulness. I have workshops coming up. I do a poetry circle. And I do work exclusively with women. So sorry, anyone out there. And I'm doing, I'm doing a Love Your Body, Release Body Shame workshop. And I'm doing some meditation workshops. And I've got a lot of things coming up. But I do like to do individualized yoga because I do, an assessment with each client, and I'm trained in so many different kinds. So I like to do a very specific plan for each person. And then I'm doing some classes too.
Fantastic. Well, it was such a pleasure meeting you. And, for everyone that's watching, it's been really interesting. I've been asking for all the special people who are different, doing things different in wellness, whether they're physicians or not, to show up. And, Jo, you showed up that way, and our show last week was that way. And I have 2 other doctors I've met that I can't wait to introduce to the world as well. And it's just like the beauty of wellness is that it's not about just one part of you. It's not just about you and how you eat, even though that's part of it, but it really is this oneness of us, and being able to find tools, resources, things that are going to work for you and your life and your body and your business and your relationships, so that you get to expand and create whatever else you'd like to create. So Dr. Jo, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so grateful for you.
Yes, and it's been delightful.
Thank you so much for everyone who was watching with us. We had a few people in there, and also this is going everywhere. So thank you for all of you that are listening in the future, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for being here, whether you were listening or watching live or on a replay. We are so grateful for you. We want to hear from you. What would you like to hear about? What are topics that get you excited and you would like to know more about? You can message us on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, or even sending us a message at globalwellnessforall.com/contact. And also, would you be willing to assist us? Would you be willing to contribute spreading these seeds of wellness and well-being to others? And as always, we are so happy you're here, and what is truly possible with our amazing planet the minute we're willing to have more wellness and well-being. See you next time.